I loved my husband dearly until old age, and after his passing, I discovered his diary. It was filled entirely with his love for Mia, but because I had sponsored his education and thus held a debt of gratitude over him, he couldn't betray me. They were not destined in this life and could only reunite in the next. Mia was the daughter of our family's nanny. Reborn into this life, I decided to fulfill their destiny. The September weather was no longer so hot. During the break between classes, I stood at the edge of the playground, gulping down mineral water. In my previous life, after seeing Victor's diary, I peacefully passed away just a few days later. I had hoped to meet my husband in heaven and clarify things with him. If he didn't love me, he could have just said so. I wasn't insistent on him. After a divorce, he could have fully united with Mia in the previous life without leaving regrets or praying for a union in the next. But unexpectedly, upon opening my eyes, I was back in high school. Recalling the contents of the diary from the previous life, my heart ached dully while I couldn't help feeling nauseated. Victor, Mia, and I were classmates in high school. It was our senior year, the critical time to sprint for the college entrance exam, yet he had to drop out due to his grandmother's medical expenses. He was a top student, always ranking first every year, and everyone believed he would surely get into Tsinghua or Peking University, with a boundless future. I couldn't bear to see such talent buried due to financial issues, so I voluntarily covered his grandmother's medical fees and sponsored him through high school, university, master's, and doctorate. Victor lived up to expectations. Right after graduation, he entered the National Research Institute and eventually became a renowned scientist. In between, we got married, had children, and loved each other until old age. If I hadn't read his diary, I would never have known that the one he truly loved was always Mia, and my sponsorship became the shackle that forced him to love me. But when I sponsored him, I didn't seek any return, it was simply because I didn't want to waste talent. It was he who, after accepting my sponsorship, tutored me in my studies and pursued me after we both got into university. Thinking about how in the previous life, during our intimate moments, he was thinking of Mia, makes me want to vomit. Claire, look quickly, it's Victor. Mia whispered excitedly in my ear. Following her voice, I saw Victor standing under a patch of shade. At this time, he was youthful and immature, yet his handsomeness was undeniable. My heart surged with dense pain again. After all, I had loved him for decades. But he looks unhappy. Mia said softly, then volunteered, I'll go ask if he's encountered any difficulties. She was always like this, enthusiastic and kind. Mia was the daughter of Aunt, our nanny. When I was 10, their family had an accident. Her husband died unexpectedly, and she and Mia were driven out by her in-laws, leaving with nothing. Aunt had to bring her daughter to work. My parents initially disagreed, but 10-year-old Mia was cheerful and enthusiastic to everyone, chattering like a lively oriole. My parents were soon infected by her and grew fond of her. Upon hearing we were the same age, my parents immediately decided to continue employing Aunt and let Mia be my companion. Thus, she moved into our home and attended elementary, junior high, and high school with me. Considering Aunt's difficult life, my parents covered her tuition and living expenses. She was petite, now standing in front of Victor, tilting her head up, saying something unknown, with a bright smile on her face. Victor had mentioned in his diary that it was Mia's concern this time that rooted this little girl in his heart. Her fiery enthusiasm was like a bright sun, illuminating his gloomy world. Soon, Mia ran back and shared the information she had gathered. She looked disappointed. Claire, Victor is dropping out. His grandmother is seriously ill and needs 100,000 yuan for surgery, but their family is too poor, so he has to drop out and work to earn money. Then, as affirming her resolve, she tentatively asked me, Claire, can you lend me 50,000 first? I have 50,000 now, and I want to lend it to him for emergency. He's so good at studies, it's such a pity for him to drop out like this. In the previous life, it was the same. Upon hearing this, I smiled and said, I know how hard it was for you to save that 50,000, don't waste it. Helping others is something I'll handle. Without another word, I transferred my monthly allowance to Victor, letting him treat his grandmother first. My family founded a large local chain supermarket, though not the richest, we weren't short of money. Now, hearing the same words, I apologetically shook my head. Did you forget the flood in Jin County a few days ago? I donated everything. Since Victor saw my sponsorship as a shackle, I'd use the money where it should be. In this life, I won't bind him anymore. As for his fate with Mia, they'll have to manage it themselves. Oh right, Mia patted her head, how did I forget that? But she had an idea and directly initiated a donation drive at school. Victor didn't stop it, but his face didn't look good. Indeed, he was proud. In the previous life, only Mia and I knew about his grandmother's illness and his plan to drop out. Before he could apply to drop out, I solved his problem, allowing him to continue school with dignity. But Mia's move almost made his situation public knowledge. I didn't expect you to be in such hardship. This is half of my living expenses for this month. Victor's deskmate said. He was a rich second generation, usually idle and always ranking last. The teacher paired them hoping Victor, the top student, could guide the poor performer. But Victor looked down on him, unless asked, he ignored him. Now, the person he despised was looking at him with pity, leaving Victor helpless and embarrassed. But the other had no malice, so he had no reason to vent, especially since it was 30,000 yuan. Thus, with contributions from everyone, plus Mia's 50,000, they gathered over 100,000 in scattered donations. Victor not only performed surgery for his grandmother but could also continue studying. That day, right after evening self-study, Mia happily pounced on me. Claire, good news, Victor said he can tutor me, and I secured a spot for you too. I stepped back, holding her at arm's length. Since learning of Victor's feelings for her, I harbored resentment and couldn't be as intimate as before. I smiled and refused, thank you, but I've applied for day student status, so I probably can't join the top students tutoring. Victor made the same decision as in the previous life, but previously his target was me, and he invited Mia. In this life, facing Mia, it was she who asked for a spot for me. It turns out that in the previous life, he had already shown bias in these small matters. I was just mesmerized by his handsomeness and didn't notice. Why? Mia gaped, how so sudden? It's not sudden, I originally applied for only 2 years of boarding. My parents initially disagreed with boarding, thinking the dorm environment was poor and crowded. But Mia persuaded that it was a chance to experience collective life for university preparation. I found it reasonable and insisted on boarding. My parents agreed for 2 years, but I must return home in senior year. Now, I greatly admire their foresight. Ah? Why didn't you tell me? Mia exclaimed. I frowned, somewhat annoyed by her words. At that moment, our dorm mate Ivy came over, smirking sarcastically, Yo, who are you? Does the young miss need to report everything to you? I didn't mean that. Mia said while glancing around, not arguing with the incompatible roommate as usual. She was clearly guilty. Ivy's words awakened me. Over the years, Mia seemed to inquire about my private matters in detail under the guise of concern. I had no defenses against her and said whatever. She knew everything about me, but I knew little about her. This was simply terrifying. Then she added, we've grown up together, eaten and lived together, never separated, now you're suddenly moving out, I'm a bit unaccustomed. Aunt retired last year, so Mia had no excuse to stay at my home. Even if she applied for day student, she'd return to her mom's old rundown place. After all, we're not blood sisters, we'll separate sooner or later. From then on, during breaks, lunch rests, or other free times, Victor would approach Mia, explaining difficult problems and organizing knowledge points for her. Mia and I were desk mates, so their every move was hard to ignore. In this life, without my involvement, Victor got what he wanted. I thought he'd be joyful. But each time he tutored Mia, he had a stern face, no smile at all, becoming even colder. Mia, however, had flushed cheeks, her eyes sparkling at Victor. I could read her gaze, admiration, adoration, and attachment. Because in the previous life, I looked at him the same way. Noticing my gaze, Mia glanced at me, her eyes clearly warning. Then she smiled. Claire, do you want to hear Victor explain problems too? Just say so, no need to sneak peeks. Others might think you're secretly in love with our top student. As usual, enthusiastic and straightforward, but her words were full of aggression. My face darkened. What nonsense. The school prohibits puppy love, don't slander me. Humph, it's her who likes him, shamelessly thinking others are like her. Ivy, sitting behind me, said sarcastically. Mia's face turned red with anger, but in front of Victor, she couldn't throw a tantrum. She gritted her teeth and endured, her eyes reddening, ready to cry any moment, pitiful and fragile, the most attractive to men. Sure enough, Victor's face grew colder. He glanced at Ivy, silent but chilling. Ivy awkwardly shut up. I lowered my eyes to the book, but couldn't suppress the spreading bitterness in my heart. In the previous life, after Victor tutored me, we were often together, gradually leading to rumors. Victor is so good to Claire, are they dating? No way, the school forbids puppy love, they'll call parents. Hee, it's between us, as long as not caught, deny it firmly, no one can do anything. Victor is so aloof, it must be Claire pursuing him. So shameless. All were unfavorable to me. I trembled with anger. Don't talk nonsense, Victor is just tutoring me. Is he that kind? Did you seduce him? The more I refuted, the fiercer the rumors. Victor acted as if nothing happened, neither clarifying nor protecting me. Until the rumors alarmed the school, teachers called parents. My dad, furious, brought out the company's lawyers and sued the rumormongers, settling the matter. Now, Ivy just sarcasm once, and Victor protected her. Indeed, love and lack thereof are very evident. However, there wasn't much time for me to wallow in sorrow. Now, every day was just studying. Damn heavens, why not rebirth me after the college entrance exam? In the previous life, I lived to 80, decades after the exam. I'd long forgotten the knowledge. But thankfully, with a younger brain, my thinking became agile, plus my innate learning talent, I absorbed knowledge quickly upon relearning. My grades weren't bad. In the previous life, even without Victor's tutoring, I could get into a good undergraduate, but he wasn't satisfied, as if not getting me into Tsinghua or Peking would betray my sponsorship. Under his urging, I studied desperately, eventually entering Tsinghua or Peking with him, but developed neurasthenia, tormented by insomnia for years. Reborn, I had a clearer self-awareness. As my parents' only daughter, I'd inherit the supermarket. With previous life experience, blindly pursuing high education at health's cost wasn't advisable. Education now was just icing on the cake for me, so I studied within my abilities, no longer anxious, depressed, or forcing myself. Living well, eating well, in good mood, soon I found myself more beautiful and vibrant, completely different from my previous life's decadent self. Mia was the opposite. Victor unchanged in resolve, now his benefactor was Mia, so he wanted her in Tsinghua or Peking too. But Mia's grades were average. If I was one step from it, she was floors away. I don't know where Victor got the courage. Mia, forced by Victor to study constantly every day, in less than 2 months had sunken eyes, sallow skin, lifeless, and dazed. I wasn't sure if it was illusion, but each time Victor tutored Mia, I felt gazes occasionally on me, but when I looked up, no one was watching. I shook my head, perhaps stress-induced hallucination. Until one Friday, after evening self-study, Mia blocked me, her face dark, speaking sharply, "Claire, don't seduce Victor just because you're pretty." I was full of question marks, seeing her huge dark circles and lifeless eyes, thinking she was delirious from fatigue. So I sobered her up by throwing my wet towel at her face. The cold water made her shiver, followed by a shriek, "Claire, what are you doing? Awake now? Look at yourself, you're here to study, not romance. Have years of knowledge been wasted? Always talking seduction and men, do you live up to Aunt and the teacher's teachings?" Mia frantically threw the towel, glaring with red eyes. "My business isn't yours, it's not your place to lecture. Mind yourself, if I find you seducing again." Before she finished, I splashed a cup of ice water. Mia shivered again. "Watch your mouth, heh, don't forget who paid for your education and food all these years, and you dare threaten me?" Mia seemed to regain some reason, but not much. She didn't curse anymore, but malice in her eyes was unconcealed. "Humph, with Brother Victor's help, I'll go to Tsinghua or Peking with him, and you're doomed to fail against me," trampled underfoot. After harsh words, she stomped away. I don't know Love's or Victor's magic that turned a cheerful girl so vicious. I also confirmed one thing, the gazes in class weren't imaginary. Victor was really looking at me, or Mia wouldn't confront me madly. I suddenly felt disgusted, like a cockroach passing. In the previous life, I loved him, he longed for Mia. In this life, I fulfill them, and he stirs again? Back home, I had my dad use connections and money power. The next day, I transferred to Class 2 of senior year. Both Class 1 and 2 were top classes, sharing teachers, so quality unchanged. But I didn't relax vigilance toward Mia. In this life, with little contact with Victor, she showed great hostility, so what about the previous life? I couldn't help recalling the rampant rumors. 5 people were most active, but I didn't know them. How did they know about Victor and me? I didn't want to think darkly of people, but Mia's name flashed in my mind. I directly used money power to bribe people around Mia. Perhaps my threat worked, she behaved, no more trouble. Her money went to Victor. If my family cut her tuition and living expenses, she'd drop out. I smoothly completed the college entrance exam. When checking scores, Dad sat on the sofa with a book. "Girl, no need to be nervous, our family doesn't rely on your diploma for money, any score is fine." I sighed. "Dad, your book is upside down." "Ah? Oh." Dad flipped it right. Mom mocked. "Henry, like this, you dare console our daughter?" I sighed again. "Mom, you're using my foundation." "Ah? Oh." Dad laughed loudly. Mom glared. Seeing them about to fight, I quickly said, "It's out, total score 702. 7 points less than previous life, if cutoff unchanged, just misses Tsinghua/Peking, but a university is certain." As expected, not too disappointed. Dad tossed the book, stood up, rubbing hands. Good, good, Dad will throw you a grand enrollment banquet." Then, the class group buzzed. I opened my phone to see the pinned message, Mia and Victor same score. I slightly opened my mouth, incredulously asking, real or fake? Many were shocked like me. Before me, plenty questioned. Of course real, both got 412. The informer was the class monitor, answering all. Group silent. Everyone thought Mia would join Victor in Tsinghua/Peking, but instead Victor joins Mia in junior college. Monitor, where'd you get the info? I typed. I still believed in Victor's ability, even blindfolded, he couldn't score so low. My family runs an internet cafe? They came together to check scores here, still haven't left. Monitor replied. I vouch, just arrived at cafe, Victor and Mia arguing. My desk mate said in group, uploading a video. The protagonists were Mia and Victor. Victor, eyes red, roared at Mia, satisfied now? No worry about not getting into Tsinghua/Peking and separating. Saying that, he slammed his water bottle down. Mia stood aside, face pale. In previous life, living decades with Victor, he was always aloof and refined, never so out of control. Anyone know what happened? Top student flopped so hard, did he sleep during exam? Someone asked curiously. First-hand info, yes. Suddenly someone with Class 1 tag said. How'd a traitor enter our class? Someone said. Monitor quickly explained, not traitor, he's Leo, top student's roommate, same exam room. His story is long, lazy to relay, so pulled him in temporarily. After, a string of thumbs up. Then I'll continue. Leo said. Hee, though unspoken, everyone knows Victor and Mia are a couple. Top student tutors Mia daily, but materials aren't from thin air. Victor organizes till 2 to 3 a.m. after dorm return. Even during exam days, we advised rest, but he said Mia fears not getting into Tsinghua/Peking, separating them. To comfort Mia, he continued studying question types, predicting and solving. Probably too tired, he slept through the last day's 2 exams. This I didn't know, I bribed girls around Mia. In September, parents sent me to a university. At the gate, saw 2 familiar figures. Victor carrying 2 large suitcases, Mia a backpack. Both much darker and thinner, heard they worked madly in summer, got student loans to afford tuition. Their school was the opposite junior college. Mia saw me, disdainfully curled lip, what's great about a university? If capable, go to Tsinghua/Peking. I sneered, A isn't comparable to them, but better than junior college. Mia's face reddened instantly, furious, what's to be proud? We underperformed, temporarily in junior college, we'll upgrade, then masters, doctorate, surely surpass you. As poor, no capital to repeat, junior college forced, best choice. I glanced at Victor, believe his underperformance, but Mia at her level. After exam, would he still drag her forward? Victor impatient, pulled Mia's hand, enough, not embarrassed? Hurry report, late, no good bed. Seeing Victor near me, Mia tensed, blocked between us, then pulled him away quickly. Dad frowned, how'd she become like this? Heard puppy love, probably corrupted by that boy. Mom guessed. Okay, whatever, unrelated to us. I coaxed parents, entered a university together. After university graduation, I didn't pursue further studies, focusing on family supermarket. On Mom's birthday, Dad booked hotel early, I ordered cake, went directly with it at dinner time. Pushing open the private room door, inside wasn't the old couple, but a British-style youth. I checked the room number, 888, correct. I was puzzled, you are. The man smiled slightly, hello, I'm Jason, your blind date. I realized, no wonder parents acted weird lately, plotting this. I found it amusing, not shameful, why hide? Hello, I'm Claire. I entered and introduced generously. In this life, I no longer crave love, but need children, family needs heir, so not against blind dates. Surprisingly, we had many common topics, chatting well. Then, door pushed open, a man in blue work clothes burst in. Face slightly dark, angry yet joyful, Claire, I'm your real husband. It was Victor. Since university, I studied while helping parents with supermarket, no time to care about them. Occasionally heard from old classmates, during upgrade exam, both failed again, not getting desired university. No choice, entered factory. Now, Victor's hands full of machine oil, uniform dirty, how hotel let him in. But his words tensed and scared me, he seemed reborn too. I forced calm, displeased, oh, Victor, for old classmates' sake, I won't pursue your words, but no more rumors. We're ordinary classmates, if I hear similar again, expect lawsuit. I'm not lying, Victor agitated, Claire, you don't know, I'm reborn. Actually, in senior year, I secretly loved you, but Mia was my benefactor, her possessiveness strong, I didn't want to betray her, so suppressed my love for you. But just now, I was reborn, only then knew in previous life we were couple, loved lifelong. You don't know how happy, I thought unrequited, but I'd already had it. In this life, no regrets. Claire, marry me again? As for Mia, I've helped her much, and because of her I didn't get into university, her debt is repaid. My eyes cold, Victor, watched too many short dramas. Story too absurd, reborn? Why not say superpowers? I'm really not lying, previous life, I was great scientist, we had beautiful son. But before finishing, several burly security rushed in, pinned him down. Victor pinned to ground, yelled at security, "What are you doing? Do you know who I am? I'm a national treasure scientist." Unsure of previous life info overloaded his brain, he couldn't distinguish past and present. "Pa," a guard spat, "with your clothes, just off shift from nearby steel plant, still scientist." Security captain apologized, "Mr. Jason, Miss Claire, sorry for oversight, we'll take him away, not disturb your meal." Turns out Jason called security. Jason softly comforted, "Don't fear, I've seen many like this. Daily women approach saying previous life lovers, to renew fate, but checks show scammers, after my money. That person probably same aim, scarier, knowing your only daughter, maybe wants to inherit everything." His comfort amused me, "Your words, aren't you afraid I'll suspect you too?" Though joke, I had to think, Victor might really like me this life, but greater attraction perhaps the benefits I bring. In previous life, besides sponsoring education, I found connections for his grad and PhD mentors, otherwise, how international academy right after graduation. Now without my help, reduced to ordinary steelworker, daily worrying about basics, can he endure such drop? Heh, I don't lack your family's trifles. True, Jason's family local richest. He's famously clean living, an anomaly in rich circles. But such premium, how in blind date market? Asking this doubt, Jason sighed, "Seems you really forgot me." I looked puzzled, we knew before. But no, Jason lived abroad studying, returned recently for inheritance. He stared, firelighting girl, sheep-herding girl. My thoughts pulled back to grandma's, she lived rural, parents sent me their holidays when busy. I helped grandma cook, herd sheep, raise chickens, no pressure, quite pleasant. But neighbors brat annoying, always nicknaming me. We fought several times, ended with me giving him more nicknames. "Your little blackie, coal ball, charcoal kid? Wait, how so fair now? And handsome?" Jason tossed hair, "Hee hee, boys change at 18. Actually liked you early, but no suitable confession chance." Seeing his eyes full of me, I had to admit, damn, heart moved again. At marriage age, after half-year dating, we set wedding date. Coincidentally, Victor and Mia married same day. Our venue city's best, Jason put much effort, grand and luxurious. There's opposite, small restaurant, contrasting shabby. Before ceremony, I rested in hotel room, through window, saw opposite restaurant. Music started, wedding convoy stopped, Victor helped Mia down. Unsure of sensing my gaze, both turned. Clearly joyous event, but no joy on faces. Then, someone called, our ceremony starting. After, I was exhausted, wanting to collapse on bed. So I did, Jason thoughtfully let me rest in room, his planned wedding continued tonight, to recharge. Just entered room, a knife at my throat. Mia, red-eyed, full of unwillingness and hatred, "Claire, why your life always so good? Previous life you married Victor, he great scientist, rich and handsome. This life I finally marry him, but he's penniless poor guy, worse than my previous life's marriage. In previous life, she showed no hostility, we were good friends, I sponsored her education, helped integrate into our circle, successfully married into wealth. But wealthy family's hard, her husband kept home flag up, but flags fluttered outside. Huge drop in living standard ignited jealousy and anger, losing reason, picking up knife. Though scared, dared not expose rebirth, frowned, what nonsense, my husband is Jason, what relation to Victor? Heh, this life indeed no relation to Victor, but married better, Fong family city's richest. Your family not short money, why find even richer? Why not let me? This way, doesn't affect your wealth, I become rich too, how good? You insist on power union, simply waste. Victor agreed to marry me, but heart and eyes all you. All human, why previous, and this life you so lucky? Will I always suffer? I tilted head back slightly, Mia excited, hand shook, knife tip drew blood on neck. Then, a foot with fierce wind attacked. Mia unnoticed, caught off guard, couldn't dodge. Wrist pain, knife flew out. Jason hugged me, tensely asked, injured? I touched neck, no, not serious. Jason coldly at Mia, again previous and this life, watched too many short dramas, same story routine. So talented, go compose in jail. Police came, took Mia, for intentional injury, sentenced. Victor divorced her, but always unfulfilled, to old age an ordinary worker.